tradition. Did you say?
Tradition.
Tradition. Please expand it a little bit.
So one of the tradition and like the mutual respect of the community was to always get home before sunset, for example. This woman broke tradition, and within her doing so led to her detriment.
Very, very good point there. Looking at traditions. Now, the question that came up was on the culture or the tradition of how women were treated. That's a very interesting that came up because the question we looked at intergenerational relationships. Why would an old woman be left on her own to go to the farm to work? What happened to the young boys and stronger boys or younger men? That could have helped her. What we do have today in Africa is to see a lot of the younger men and women leaving the villages to go to the city, usually to go and get education or to become civilized. And they're leaving the older people. And so these people, they left there to fend for themselves. And in that case, they will fall into certain disadvantages. So that was one thing that did come up there, their relationships with their elders. Now, what sprung from that then, which I was not expecting, was the women now started complaining. That's not the only thing. Because when it comes to inheritance, as soon as, the fathers, they only give everything to the boys, and they leave us, they don't give us anything at all. Because the culture within my own, my own society is that the father will only pass on inheritance to the boys. And the women, once you're married, that's you done. Your inheritance now is about what you and your man would have, and your children will also have that as well. But we all know that many of the women either will divorce or the husbands will die and so on. So many are left destitute with children. So the women raise that issue up. Well, how are we in this whole bargain of inheritance? Where is our own land? How do you take care of us? So using this particular story, so many issues were raised, some which I did not truly expect. I'll just say one last thing that came up because I know because of time. Right upstairs during Dr. H's session, somebody talked about, I think it was Princess there, you talked about how do we maintain this thing, how do we keep this whole decolonizing process going on against all the odds that we have there. And that's a very real issue. In Sierra Leone, like many other African countries, we have the NGOs. And the NGOs would pop in there and, because that funding is there, work for that month or two and so on, and then disappear. And one of the women raised a specific question to me. And she says to me, Yusuf, you educated people, you are the ones who are causing problems for us. I was stunned. I'm like, where is this coming from? She says, you come in here and then you tell us that we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that, we should adopt this, we should adopt that. Just as we're going along with you, you go away. And she brought out specifically the issue with the female circumcision issue. She says, you've come in and they've told us not to do this thing, it's so bad, it's this, it's that, and so on. And now they've gone. But what they've left with us is that our daughters now don't respect us. They see us now as if we are so evil. But you're not here to help us solve this situation. On top of that, the boys are now having their way with the girls that they never did before. The men are taking advantage of the women because through this bundle fraternity for the women, we will gather together and make sure our girls are protected. And I will make sure no man messes about with our girls. And if they do, we will gang up together to make sure we see justice is done. Now we can't do that. As I'm talking to you plain, that's how this woman was talking to me. That's the situation they are facing. And because I go to the village, I see it all the time. I see the number of pregnant young girls who are not going to school anymore. I see the advantage at taking over the girls. And there's nobody to talk to. They can't go to the police either. They are just as corrupt. So this process that we are on has huge ramifications implications in so many other ways. And I know Dr. Asia that we're talking about the responsibility of the researchers. Maybe, and it's just my own personal view, that maybe as researchers when we go in sometimes is to actually make it quite clear we're not here to advocate, nor are we here to maybe solve a problem, but we're here to record, to ask you questions and record what it is that is happening. Hopefully you can do something if you think something is wrong. Because they see us as researchers as we're coming in to give the solutions to it, which is not necessary. However, having said that, I am very, very proud of the booklet, the workbook that's just been produced, which I'm sure you've all seen, right? I'm very proud of that because, you know, one of the colleagues that worked with us so strongly, so powerfully throughout, supported us right through, Mr. Khalil Toure. He was one of the teachers, okay? And Khalil Toure, his photo is over there. He's there with Dr. H, right on the wall there. Okay, Khalil Toure gave so much support. And sometimes when people are suspecting and not trusting what we're doing, you have somebody like Khalil Toure. So a book like this goes back there, really gives them like, yeah, we've gone full circle. It came back to us. To me, this is the greatest thing that